All right, guys, I went 3-2 with a push of my 6 personal sports bets on BrockPage.com yesterday. We lost our damn daily best play yesterday because of a last-minute goal in that San Jose Vancouver game. And, of course, we lost our Major League Baseball tier package bet by measly half a run. You know, those damn Blue Jays. So another 60% day for us yesterday. $1,000 bettors only made like $920 yesterday. Using my personal bets. Definitely not good enough. We need more profit than that on our winning days. But anyway, guys, I am feeling pretty good about my personal bets here today. And we are actually 3-0 in our last 3 extra daily bets on BrockPage.com. And if you want to access today's extra daily bet, it's only going to cost you just $2.99. And the link for that play is in the description section below. And to be honest with you guys, we've actually been pretty hot in a bunch of different packages on my website. So if you want to check out my current personal bet record, you can do that for free right now by going to the homepage at brockpage.com. And I'll explain a little bit more at the end of the video about what the difference is between what I do here on my YouTube channel and what I do on my website. But with that, guys, got ourselves a pretty big slate of baseball games here, so let's dive into it. We're going to start with the A's taking on the Phillies, 1:05 Eastern first pitch on Sunday, April 10th, 2022. Happy Sunday to you guys. Hopefully you're having a great weekend. Now, Philadelphia is minus $2 with the total at 9. Zach Eflin for the Phils, Dalton Jeffries for Oakland. Now, Jeffries is fairly green as he has just 17 career major league innings under his belt. He's got an ERA of 5.82 during that span, and he's also struggled in limited action this season during spring training. Jeffries went 0-2 through 14 innings pitched, and he allowed 3 homers, 16 runs. And he also had an ERA of 9.64. And this Oakland pitching staff, they've already allowed 13 runs to Philadelphia through a couple of games. And speaking of Phillies bats, Rhys Hoskins has gone 4 for 6 this season with a couple of walks and 3 RBI. Meanwhile, Gene Segura, he's 3 for 7 with a homer and a couple of runs scored. And speaking of home runs, the Phils have hit 4 homers already through 2 ball games. Now, pitching-wise, Zach Eflin, he had a .96 ERA during spring training as well, and he gave up 0 homers. I'm going to lean toward Philadelphia, minus 1.5, and the over 9 runs. Next ball game, White Sox, Tigers, 1:10 p.m. East. Chicago's minus 140, totals 8.5. Michael Kopech for Chicago, Tarek Skubal for Detroit. Now, Scoobs finished last season with an 8-12 record, along with a 4.34 ERA. He's taking on a Chicago lineup who scored 9 runs in their last couple of games, and they're led by A.J. Pollock, who's 4 for 7 with 5 total bases. Meanwhile, Lewis Robert, he's 4 for 8 with a double and a run scored as well. When it comes to the pitching in this one, Michael Kopech, he's got himself, he had himself a 3.50 ERA last season along with a 1.12 whip. I'm going to lean toward the Chicago White Sox minus 140 and the under 8.5. Next matchup, O's Rays 1:10 East. Tampa Bay's minus 220, totals 9 runs. Corey Kluber for Tampa Bay, Tyler Wells for Baltimore. Now, the big man, Tyler Wells, he has just 57 innings of major league work under his belt. He's given up 9 homers during that stretch and has an ERA of 4.11. Meanwhile, offensively, the O's have scored just 4 total runs in this current series with Tampa Bay. And speaking of the Rays, they've got Corey Kluber on the bump. I'll tell you what, your organization must be in a really good spot pitching-wise when a guy like Kluber is 3rd in the rotation. Now, Corey's got a career 3.19 ERA, and he's actually had an ERA of 3.85 or better in 8 out of his last 9 seasons. Now, offensively, Francisco Mejia is leading the club in ribbies with 4 of them. When it comes to the total, both of this series' 2 games fell under the posted number. I'm going to lean toward Tampa Bay minus 1.5 and the under 9 runs. Next ball game, Reds, Braves, 135 East. Atlanta's the $2 favorite, totals 9.5. Ian Anderson for Atlanta, Hunter Green for Cincinnati. Now, Green threw 9 innings in the preseason and allowed 13 hits, 9 runs, and he also gave up 4 home runs. And that's certainly bad news for Reds fans because they're going up against a stacked Braves lineup. Matt Olson, he's 5 for 10 with 3 walks and a couple of extra base hits. Meanwhile, Austin Riley, he's 4 for 9 in the series with a homer and 3 runs scored. Now, pitching-wise, Ian Anderson, he's got a career 3.25 ERA, and he's also coming off a 9-5 year in 2021. Now, total-wise, 2 out of this series' prior 3 ball games did get over the line. I'm going to lean toward Atlanta minus 1.5 and the over 9.5 runs. Next ball game, Mets, Nats, 135 East. The New York Mets are minus 135, totals 9.5. Carlos Carrasco for New York, Eric Fedde for Washington. Now, Fetty's gone just 9-13 over the past couple of seasons. He's got a career ERA of 5.25. Now, equally as bad, Fetty's got himself a career whip of 148. He's going up against a Mets lineup who's scored 17 runs through 3 ball games. And they're led by Jeff McNeil, who's 6 for 13 with a homer and a couple of runs scored. Meanwhile, Mark Canha and Pete Alonso, they have 4 RBI apiece. Now, pitching-wise, Carlos Carrasco, he's had himself an ERA of 3.63 or better in 6 out of his last 8 seasons. Now, total-wise, 2 out of the series' 3 games already fell under the posted number. I'm going to lean toward the Mets minus 135 and the under 9.5. Next contest, it is going to be Rangers versus the Blue Jays, 1:37 Eastern start time. Toronto's minus 250, totals 9.5. Hyun-Jin Ryu for the Jays, Spencer Howard for Texas. And with 74 career innings under his belt, Spencer Howard's posted a record of just 1-7 with an ERA of 6.93 during that stretch. Now he's going up against a powerful Blue Jays lineup who's led by Bo Bichette, who's gone 4 for 8, and he scored 4 times already. Meanwhile, Vlad Guerrero Jr., he's gone 4 for 8 himself. He's already knocked in 3 runners. Now, pitching-wise, Ryu hasn't had a losing season since 2017. He's actually 73-45 for his entire career with a 3.20 ERA. Now, total-wise, the Blue Jays could potentially put this one over the number themselves. I'm going to lean toward Toronto minus 1.5 and the over 9.5. Next ball game, Guardians, Royals, 2:10 p.m. East. Kansas City's minus 120, totals 8.5. Chris Bubich for Kansas City, Cal Quantrill for Cleveland. Now, Cal's coming off 2 really good seasons. He had a 2.25 ERA in 2020, followed by a 2.89 ERA in 2021. He's taking on a Royals lineup who's got 0 home runs on the year thus far and just 3 extra base hits. And out of 2 games already, Salvi Perez and Carlos Santana, they've both failed to get their first hit of the year. Now, total-wise, this series is currently 2-0 to the under, as there's only been 5 total runs scored between these 2 teams. I'm going to lean toward Cleveland plus $1 and the under 8.5. Next matchup, Mariners, Twins, 2:10 p.m. East. Minnesota's minus 135, totals 8.5. Bailey Ober for the Twins, Marco Gonzalez for Seattle. Now, Gonzalez has an ERA. He actually has had an ERA in the 3s over his past 3 seasons. He also finished 2021 with a 1.16 whip. Now, hitting-wise, Ty France, he's gone 4 for 7 with a couple of walks, couple of ribbies. They're taking on a Twins team who scored just 4 runs in 2 games. Alex Kirilloff is 0 for 8 with 4 strikeouts. Meanwhile, Jorge Polanco, he's 0 for 7 with 4 strikeouts as well. When it comes to the pitching in this one, Bailey Ober is just over 92 major league innings under his belt. That's it. 4.19 ERA during that stretch. 20 home runs given up during that short span as well. Really struggling to keep the ball down in the zone. Now, total-wise, both teams in this series fell under the posted number. I'm going to lean toward Seattle plus $1.15 and the under 8.5. Next game, Pirates, Cardinals, 2:15 Eastern first pitch. St. Louis is minus 210, totals 8 runs. Steven Matz for the Cards, Bryce Wilson for Pittsburgh. Now Wilson went just 3 and 7 last season with a 5.35 ERA and a 1.44 WHIP. And for his career, it's actually worse for Wilson, as the righty has a career WHIP of 157. Now he's taking on a potent Cardinals lineup who scored 15 runs already through 2 ball games. They're led by Nelson Arenado, who's 5 for 8 with 3 runs and 5 RBI. Meanwhile, Tyler O'Neill's gone 5 for 8 himself with 4 extra base hits and 5 RBI as well. When it comes to the pitching in this one, Steven Matz is coming off a 14-7 year in Toronto with a 3.82 ERA. I'm going to lean towards St. Louis minus 1.5 in the over 8 runs. Next ball game, Brewers, Cubs, 2:20 Eastern start time. Milwaukee's minus 130, total 7.5. Freddie Peralta for Milwaukee, Marcus Stroman for Chicago. Now Stroman's had an ERA of 3.77 or better in his last 4 straight seasons. Matter of fact, last year he finished with a 3.02 ERA with the Mets, along with a 1.14 WHIP. And when it comes to the hitting in this one, the Cubs have scored 14 runs in 2 ball games, and they're led by Ian Happ, who's 5 for 7 with 3 runs scored and 4 RBI. Meanwhile, Jason Hayward, he's 3 for 6 with a run scored and a couple of walks. They're taking on a struggling Brewers team who got shut out yesterday and has a couple of key players who just haven't delivered yet. Hunter Renfroe is just 1 for 8 with a couple of strikeouts. And speaking of strikeouts, this Milwaukee lineup has struck out 19 times already. Now, total-wise, both of the series games did get over the posted number, depending on where you're shopping at. It's been a pretty chippy series. Wouldn't be surprised if we've seen a couple more hit batters, maybe another bench clearer. But I'm going to lean towards Chicago plus $1.10 in the over 7.5. Next matchup, Dodgers, Rockies, 3:10 p.m. East. The LA Dodgers are minus 185, totals 11.5. Julio Urias for LA, Antonio Senzatella for Colorado. Now, Antonio's coming off a tough 2021 campaign as he went just 4-10 with a 4.42 ERA. And even though Antonio really didn't give up a whole lot of homers last year, he did still finish the season with a 1.34 WHIP. Now he's taking on a Dodger team who's currently led by Gavin Lux, who's 2 for 5 with a couple of walks and a couple of runs scored. Meanwhile, pitching-wise, Julio Urias, he would probably be any other organization's opening day starter. He went 20-3 last season with a 2.96 ERA and a 1.01 WHIP. Now, total-wise, both games in this very series fell under the posted number. I'm going to lean toward the Dodgers, minus 185, and the under 11.5. Next game, Marlins, Giants, 4:05 East. San Francisco's minus $1.25, totals 8 runs. Anthony DeSclafani for San Francisco. Trevor Rogers for Miami. Now, Rogers showed some really good stuff last season, and he did a nice job of keeping the ball down in the zone. He He had a 2.64 ERA, and he allowed only 6 home runs in 133 innings of work. He's taking on a Giants team who struck out 21 times through 2 ball games and has a handful of starters with just 1 hit on the year. I'm going to lean toward Miami plus 105 and the under 8 runs. Next game, Astros, Angels, 407 East. Houston's minus $1.15, totals 9.5. Jose Urquidy for Houston, Jose Suarez for Los Angeles. Despite a fairly decent season last year, Suarez still went just 8-8, and he has a career ERA of 5.70. Now he's taking on a Houston lineup who scored 16 runs in their first 2 games, and they've got multiple players with 2 home runs already. Alex Bregman and Kyle Tucker, they each have a pair of home runs on the season. Both players also have 4 RBI apiece. Now, pitching-wise, Jose Urquidy went 8-3 last season with a 3.62 ERA and a .99 WHIP. When it comes to the number, 2 out of the series' 3 contests did fall under the posted total. I'm going to lean toward Houston minus $1.15 and the under 9.5. Next contest, Padres, Diamondbacks, 410 East. San Diego's minus 165, totals 9.5. Blake Snell for San Diego, Caleb Smith for Arizona. Now, Smith finished the year with a 1.37 WHIP last season, and he posted a record of just 4-9. Meanwhile, offensively, the D-backs have scored just 6 runs in 3 ball games this year. They're taking on a Padres team who's got Blake Snell on the bump here today. He's got a career 3.42 ERA, and he struck out 170 batters last season. Now, offensively, Eric Hosmer's going 6 for 12 with a couple of doubles, couple of runs scored. When it comes to the scoring in this one, all 3 of this series contests fell under the posted total. I'm going to lean towards San Diego minus 165 and the under 9.5. And with that, guys, we're going to jump into our next and final matchup for the show. It is going to be Red Sox versus the Yankees, 7:08 Eastern start time. The New York Yankees are minus 140, totals 9 runs. Jordan Montgomery for the Yanks, Tanner Houck for Boston. And even though Tanner's got just 86 career major league innings under his belt, he's got a 2.93 ERA during that span, along with a 1.08 WHIP. Now, offensively, Alex Verdugo's gone 4 for 8 in this series with a homer and 3 RBI. Meanwhile, Xander Bogaerts, he's also gone 3 for 8 with a couple of runs scored himself. And they're taking on a Yankee team who's looked pretty good themselves over the past couple of games. That said, though, I'm really not fond of this price point here. I'm going to go ahead and lean toward Boston plus $1.20 and the over 9 runs. But that, guys, we're going to jump into our quick pick recap. Powered to you by my website at brockpage.com. We're currently 3-0 in our last 3 extra daily bets on that website. I like Philadelphia minus 1.5 over 9 runs. Chicago White Sox minus 140 under 8.5. Tampa Bay minus 1.5 under 9 runs. Atlanta Braves minus 1.5 over 9.5. New York Mets minus 135 under 9.5. Toronto Blue Jays minus 1.5 over 9.5 runs. Cleveland plus $1 under 8.5. Seattle Mariners plus $1.15 under 8.5. St. Louis minus 1.5 over 8 runs. Chicago Cubs plus $1.10 over 7.5. LA Dodgers minus 185 under 11.5. Miami Marlins plus 105 under 8. Houston minus $1.15 under 9.5. San Diego minus 165 under 9.5 runs. With my next and final free pick for the video, I'm going to lean toward Boston plus $1.20 and the over 9 runs. But that, guys, that's going to do it for me. Don't forget to check me out on brockpage.com. Now, if you guys do end up getting a membership here today on my website, just keep in mind you're going to get billed the day you sign up and then the first of every month following that. So if you do end up getting a membership here today on brockpage.com, you're going to get access to that membership every single day all the way through the end of April. I always tell folks in every single video, the earlier in the month you sign up, the better. And guys, if you want to get access to every single bet that I give out on that website, you're going to want to think about signing up for my board member package. Not only do board members get access to the board member tier pick itself, you actually get access to every single package that I offer on that website every single day, all the way through the end of April. Now, you may be wondering what the difference is between what I do here on my YouTube channel and what I do on my website. Well, what I do here on YouTube is I'll handicap the entire slate of games in any given sport, side and total. And what I do on BrockPage.com is I actually share with you which one of these free YouTube picks on my channel that I'm actually betting on personally. But most importantly, guys, gotta thank you for joining me right here on YouTube. Really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. And with that said, guys, happy Sunday to you. Best of luck to you. And I look forward to seeing you later on today on my website at BrockPage.com.